to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello everybody and welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips and I will be your host for the next hour, and I'm joined in the studio by Corey. Hello Corey.
Hello. Hope everybody's well out there.
Yeah. And so let me tell you a little bit about Unlocking Your Truth in case you are listening for the first time. This is a talk radio show, and we focus on metaphysics and spirituality. So we start with a discussion topic, and then we open the phone lines for you to call in with your questions. And you can call in and ask any burning question that you have about your life, whether it's health, career, relationships, your own spiritual experiences and intuition, and receive an intuitive insight from me. So that's coming up at about 20 past the hour when we open the phone lines. But to begin with, we have a discussion topic today, and it's one that we've actually never done before on the show, and that is animal totems. Animal totems. So what is an animal totem, and how do you know what yours is? So we're going to explore that in a little bit of detail this evening. And so maybe I'll read a little bit from, there's a fantastic book by Ted Andrews called Animal Speak. And one of my favorite books, actually. It's really extensive about how you can work with the essence and energy of animals and how you can identify your animal totems. And so he says, in the past, the shamans and priests and priestesses were the keepers of the sacred knowledge of life, and these individuals were tied to the rhythms and forces of nature, capable of walking the threads that link the invisible and visible worlds, and they help people remember that all trees are divine and all animals speak to those who listen. And the idea of a totem animal is an animal that is really in alignment with you and who you are and the lessons that you are here to learn, and the powers and forces that are your abilities that also run through your veins, kind of thing. So, do you know your animal totems? So let's do a few questions that you can ask yourself to see if you are familiar with what your animal totems might be. And so, one of the first questions is, which animal or bird has always fascinated you? Because we tend to be drawn to the creatures that resonate the most with us, and the animals that fascinate us the most have something to teach us. So, Corey, what animal or bird has always fascinated you?
So all kinds of them have always fascinated. The rhinoceros.
That's a cool one,
yeah,
isn't
I like
it?
the rhinoceros. That's not my totem animal, though.
Well, you know what? You can have, just like you can have more than one
Mm.
spirit guide, you can have more than one animal totem. And some animal totems are with you your entire life, and just usually one or two of those. And then other animal totems can sort of come into prominence at different times in your life. If I look back at my life, I recognize that pattern. I have two main animal totems that sort of accompany me the whole journey, but at different times there have been other creatures as well to learn from. So now question number 2, when you visit the zoo, which animal do you wish to visit the most or first? And as a child, this is especially important, because children are more naturally open and able to more easily recognize the animal that will be important to them. So is the rhinoceros the one that you run to? Or you, when you were a kid?
I don't know. I really could. Well, I never went to the zoo as a kid, that I can remember. I'm not sure. I guess the big cats are always a draw.
Yeah, they totally are. And I mean, my 2 main totem animals, one is a mountain lion, and the other one is a lemur, which is like really rare and unusual animal. And I'm such a rare, unusual creature myself, so it kind of makes sense to me. All right, and then question number 3. What animals do you see most frequently when you are out in nature? So listeners, I hope you're following along and asking these questions to yourself. Have you had encounters with animals in the wild? The animals we encounter in the city environment or in the wild have significance for us. We can learn from them, even if only about survival within that environment. So I know one of Corey's animals is a woodpecker, and we have a woodpecker that visits us all the time. And we also get hummingbirds, squirrels, and a bear.
A bear.
A bear in our garden, don't we, sometimes?
And crazy dog.
When he's not asleep, yeah.
And a crazy dog.
Yeah, and you bring up an interesting point, because usually the main totem animal that somebody will have is a wild animal, because the wild animal sort of contains the raw nature and essence, whereas a domestic animal, obviously it's been domesticated, but some people do identify that their totem animal is a dog or a cat. And when that's the case, you want to look to the sort of essence of those domestic animals. So a wolf for the dog, or a lion, or one of the big cats for a domestic cat. Okay, so now, of all the animals in the world, which is the one you are most interested in now? Because our interests in animals change. We usually have 1 or 2 for a lifetime, which are like our lifetime power animals, but others become more prominent when there is something important or specific to teach us. And I know for myself, like the lemur and the mountain lion are the main power animals, but there's been times where I've been absolutely enchanted by swans. I love owls, actually. And even from time to, at one time, I dreamed a lot about snakes, for example. And so, it seems like some creatures have just come into my life for a while and then disappeared. So what about right now, Corey? Which one do you think fascinates you the most in present time?
Well, really, a couple of them actually. I'm driving around quite a bit. The egrets, they're just so absolutely beautiful the way they fly, and smooth and everything. And also the hawks that you see on the side of the road sitting on the lampposts, and I guess eagles. But I think the larger birds really fascinate me.
Yeah. Well, and I would say for me, at the moment, it's a dog. Like the idea of having a domestic pet, oddly enough. And so what was I going to say about that? Yes, and that brings me on to the next point, because on the one hand, it's the one I'm most attracted to, and on the other hand, I'm actually a bit frightened of them too.
Well, everybody's a little frightened of dogs when they're barking and yelping at them.
Yeah. But I would say, when I was younger, I was totally a cat person, and I didn't see the point of dogs at all. I was like, why would you have I remember, at one time when I lived in London, I shared a house with, I rented a room in a house, and the lady had a pet dog, and her office was upstairs. And I think it was kind of like a corgi mongrel thing. And whenever she worked all day in her office because she was studying to be a psychologist, this dog would lie at the bottom of the stairs with its head on the bottom step all day, just waiting for the moment that she would come down. And I used to look at this dog and think, you're so pathetic. Why are you doing that? Get a life, It's awful, really. I totally judged that dog for being so, but obviously the quality that it had was just total loyalty and devotion and love for her. And I can appreciate that now, but at that time I couldn't. I just thought, what a ridiculous thing. All right, anyway, so then continuing this investigation into totem animals, the next point was, which animal most frightens you? Because what we fear the most is often something that we need to learn or come to terms with. And then when we can come to terms with our fears, it becomes a power. And so some shamans believe that fears will take the shape of animals, and only when we confront them without fear do their powers and medicine work for us instead of against us. And such an animal becomes a shadow totem. So I would say, which animal frightens me the most? It probably is the dog that lives next door. We've got a crazy dog that lives next door. How about you, Corey? Are you
the bed bug?
A bed bug, yeah, that's a good one to be scared of, isn't it? Not, we don't have any.
Yeah, but you have to put that into circumstance as well. Dogs don't frighten me until I run up to one that's growling and barking and sneering at me. And it's the same thing with any other animal. Until I'm face to face with them on a adversarial platform, then no.
Yeah, that's right, because I really enjoy dogs, and there's other neighbours' dogs that are lovely, that are so friendly and easy to pet, and I love them. I'm not afraid of them. So it's just the one that's got the craziness behind its eyes that concerns me. All right, so then that brings us on to the next point. Have you ever been bitten or attacked by an animal? Historically, if a shaman survived an attack, it was believed the animal was the shaman's spirit totem, and the attack was the totem's way of testing the shaman's ability to handle power. So I've had lots of dreams where animals bit me. That time when I was seeing a lot of snakes, they were biting me, for example. That was a long time ago. The only animal I've ever been bitten by, actually, is a dog when I was a kid. How about you?
I can't recall ever being bitten by an animal, but I've been attacked by a couple of dogs.
I thought you told me the other day you had a dream where an animal bit you. I can't remember what the animal was, though.
Oh, don't remember.
I think you did.
But I walked the streets. I remember once coming back from skating late at night when I lived in Montreal. There was a dog coming back, walking along a German Shepherd. And it looked at me. There's also a Doberman in Toronto once. It looked at me and it just came right towards me. And I just took my stance and yelled and screamed at it and grabbed whatever I could out of my pocket, which was a pen. And if it was going to attack, I was going. But it took off. It finally took off. But there was 2 cases of that where the 2 dogs just picked me out of nowhere.
Well, I've thought of a couple of others. I've been stabbed by a donkey. By a donkey behind a barbed wire fence that pressed the barbed wire fence into my arm. And I've also been spat on by a llama. I used to love llamas. That was another one for a time I was totally enamored by, until I went to Argentina and was somewhere where there was some llamas, and I was stroking the front end of the llama. Somebody else pressed down on the back end of the llama, and of course, like all of those types of animals, what their first course of defense is, they open up their stomach contents and spray you with them. Mm-hmm. So I was sprayed my whole hair, my face, my clothes, and I was lucky that I had sunglasses on. And it was like literally you take the sunglasses off and there was 2 white places where my eyes were, and the rest was green with llama vomit. And I had my mouth open at the time that it happened. And so, it was quite unpleasant. I had to sort of, and because we were tourists, pour bottled water to try and clean myself. And somebody had a bottle of vodka, which I used to swill my mouth out to clean, to sterilize it from this. Anyway, so that kind of got me over my love of llamas. All right, so on to the next point. Do you have dreams with animals in them, or are there animal dreams you have never forgotten? This is especially important if the dreams are recurring, or if at least the animal image in the dream is a recurring one. Children often dream of animals, and attention should be given to them. They will reflect specific totem animals of the child. And for sure, I've had lots of dreams of animals. How about you?
Me, I can't say I have lots of dreams about animals, but I do have a waking dream, if you want to call it, about my totem animal.
So, explain further what that is, a waking dream.
Well, just in my own mind's eye, I think about my totem animal, and I'll see it doing the exact same thing. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so listeners, I hope that's helped you if you've never thought about it before. Get some idea of what your totem animal is. And of course, every animal in nature has a powerful spirit and has its own talents and its own behaviors. And so once you know your totem animal, studying its behavior and its talents and its adaptations will reveal the kind of medicine and magic and power that it can help you develop within your own life, and also the challenges that you might have to overcome. And so another point is that Ted Andrews is saying here that the animal chooses the person and not the other way round. So, many people believe they can just choose an animal and start communicating with it. And that's really the ego that's making you want to choose a particular animal. So it's better to just be receptive, maybe meditate on it and see what animal comes to you.
That's sort of like, past lives. Oh yeah, I was, Jesus, or I was such and such. People always want, oh, my totem animal's the eagle or the lion or the tiger.
Yes, and actually it's a mouse. Yeah. Oh dear. Well, and that's it. Actually, slightly off topic, but I've met a few people who believed that they were Jesus or whoever, or one of the disciples. And usually what's happening when somebody believes that is that they're going through a spiritual growth cycle where they are going through some of the same challenges as that character. So that character is a symbol for what they're going to, more so than them actually being their past life. And let's see, we're going to go to a break shortly. I'll just check and see if there's any other important point to make about animal totems before we move on.
Well, I received my first animal totem at an event run by First Nations where we were doing a dance, and just doing a dance, and the fellow who was taking care of this or moderating it just said the animal will choose you, it will come to you. And I was thinking, is it doing this dance, and saying, is it the wolf, is it the lion, what mountain lion? I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, this raven comes in, and it's not just a raven, it's a night raven. And I didn't even know any such thing existed, which was kind of interesting.
That's how I met my lemur, actually. There was a chap, I don't even remember what his name was. This was nearly 17, 18 years ago. And he would come to your apartment and take you through kind of a journey where you went very deep into yourself, and your animal came and found you. And that was when I met my lemur. And I had never thought that about a lemur being a totem animal of mine before that. And once it happened, it was like, oh, yeah, that actually does make sense. And what he actually did then was he made a plaster cast mask of your face, and then you painted the totem animal on the plaster cast mask. It was great. Unfortunately, there was a group of people I knew at the time that were making a film and asked me if I would loan them my lemur mask. And I very stupidly lent it to them, and I never saw it again. And I still remember it. I'm still bothered by it, folks. I haven't let it go. And if you're listening and you were one of those people that took my lemur mask, and I'm sure it's long gone by now, shame on you. Because, and what the significance of me finding that totem animal and then losing my mask. Anyway, this is going to take us to a break, listeners. I'm going to read out the number that you can call in. 604-504-7441, extension 4142. Once again, 604-504-7441, extension 4142. Or info@drlesleyphillips.com by email. And wouldn't it be fun tonight if you called in with your totem animal stories, or your dreams of animals that you've had, or the animals that you feel really attracted to, and we could take a look at your relationship with that animal. Or even if you would like to find out what one of your totem animals is, I could certainly go into trance and take a look and see what animal appears for you. So I'll invite you to do that, 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And of course, if you have another burning question, you're also welcome to call in. We'll be back in a flash after these few messages. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. I'm Dr. Lesley. I'm here with Corey. We've been talking about animal totems this evening, and I'm not sure we've got any people writing in with a question about animals, so we'll take some email questions.
Okay, I have a question from Lena, and Lena would like to know, which healing art should I do?
Okay. I'll take a look at that, and you know what? For fun, I might just see if I can see an animal. I'm in the mood for it.
2 for 1.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's take a look at Lena. I'm just tuning into Lena's energy, and she said what healing art would be most suited to her. Well, one of the things that I'm seeing about you, Lena, is that you have past lives as a healer. And one of the ones that's showing up really, really strongly is an ancient Egyptian past life. And in the cult of Sekhmet. And Sekhmet was a lion goddess. So how's that for 2 in 1? A lion goddess. And so I'm seeing that you were a priestess, a high priestess in that cult, and that you focused on, it's kind of like using a neutral, I believe there are actually people who've revived aspects of those teachings, so you could Google and look up courses for that. I'm not sure if it's exactly the same as it was in ancient Egypt, but what I'm seeing that you did in ancient Egypt was basically channeling neutral cleansing energies through your own energy system and using it to transfer, to catalyze healing in others. And and also to broadcast healing on a broader level, actually. So it would be like the idea of healing the land or healing the earth. So just channeling and anchoring beneficial energies that would help the crops grow, or help maintain peace. But anyway, I'm seeing so anything that would be like Reiki, healing touch, the sort of conscious energy management healing techniques that I teach as well. They will all be things that you could do. And I'm also just seeing as tapping into your own higher being, because all of that learning and information that you gathered in that past life is still there for you to bring into this life if you wish. All right, next question.
I have a couple of things to say on that one, if you don't mind.
No, great.
Well, it's a little like totem animals. Sometimes the healing, you don't choose the healing art. The art chooses you. And the other thing I have to say about that is that one of my mentors used to say, if you only have one tool in your tool belt to help somebody, and that's not working, what do you do then? So what that means is go out and get a few. Do many things. Learn how to do several things. And that way you can do a combination. I do a combination of three or four things when I do most of my healing, and none of it is really straight off the shelf. So it picked me. I didn't pick it.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that and say, people tend to want to categorize things. So now we have this big industry out there of all of these different, you can do body talk, you can do tapping, you can do EFT, you can do, the other ones that I mentioned. I don't have a name for the form of healing that I do, but once you open your intuition and you can tap into that information, you basically have access to all of it. Whether it's medical intuition or energy healing or whatever it is. And so first and foremost, I would say just tap into the stream of consciousness that is you, because there is a healer inside already. Great, thank you. What's the next question?
Okay, we have a question from Jenny. And Jenny, it's a little bit of a longer one. And Jenny says, I have never learned, and also a healing question, I have never learned how to do Reiki or energy work, but I have felt my hand chakras open and I can feel people's energy, and most of them can feel mine. It feels like electricity going through my hands. Could you tell me if I'm doing it right? I have them lay down and start at the crown chakra and I feel the energy. I then have images come to my mind of what the person is doing to keep their chakra open or what they're doing to keep it closed or blocked. I read all of the 7 chakras. I start the session with good intent and positive energy. Anyway, I know I should probably take classes, so I will follow your advice when it comes to this. How can I learn to expand this gift?
Oh, that's a great question, a great follow-on to the last one, because Jenny's an example of someone who's tapping into her innate knowledge. And sometimes we go and take a class from somebody, and actually if instead we just learn to turn within, we could channel our own information, and we might even be better off. And so I'll take a look though, Jenny, at what you're doing and give you some feedback. But I would say, before I even go into trance, it sounds like you are, yes, you're giving a healing, and at the same time that you're giving a healing, you're actually giving a reading as well, because the images that you're seeing, that's your clairvoyance at work. So let me take a look, let me tune into you, and take a look at what you're doing with your clients. And I would just say about the tingling, of course, what we're doing when we're giving an energy healing is we are channeling energy. I channel neutral energy from the earth and from the cosmos through energy channels in my body that's directed down my arms and out through the palms of my hands, and it can feel kind of like a tingling or heat or a wind or so on. And so I would say that you're feeling the energy flowing through your energy channels. You're feeling the energy flowing out through your hand chakras. And of course, when you get used to using your hands as a healer, you can start to feel the energy of the person that you're giving a healing to. You can actually feel the blocks, and you can feel the blocks being released, and you can feel interfering energies that often feel like prickles or little electrical shocks. So I just validate everything that you're experiencing, Jenny. And, the question was, am I doing it right? So I'll just take a look and see if there's any guidance we can give you to help you. Well, let's just give you a few tips, because I know that you listen to the podcasts, and I know that you've been practicing grounding. It's really important when you're giving a healing to be grounded. Because the grounding helps you channel that energy through your system, and also gives you a way of releasing the client's energy. One of the important things when we're giving a healing is that we don't want to get into the client's space. And if the client's energy gets into our space, we want to be able to release it and let it go. And so it's important to make separations from the person you're healing once the healing is complete. And so I'm seeing that sometimes like you're giving the healing and you're having this amazing experience, and you're seeing all of this information and feeling all of this stuff, and you go away from the healing and you are still thinking about and carrying the experience with you. And so you just want to make sure that you're basically cleaning your space out. Let's see if there's anything else I can tell you about this. I would just encourage you, keep going. Got anything to add to that one, Corey?
Yes.
Oh, good.
I always have something to add. Don't always do it, but the way I look at it is, if you're helping and you're not hurting yourself or them, then you're doing good.
Yeah, and
you're doing it absolutely right.
Yeah, and it didn't look to me like you were doing them any harm or doing yourself any harm. So
again, do it your way. You don't have to read a book and do exactly what it says in the book. And one of my best mentors in life, when he was teaching us matrix energetics, he was saying, don't do it my way. If you're doing it my way, you're doing it wrong. Do it your way. He's very, very true. It's just guidance. You may want to look for some guidance how to release and work with this.
Yeah. And I would agree with that, but I would also just say sometimes you can get yourself down a blind alley and need some mentorship. And I'll give you an example from my own life. And then we'll go to a break, and then we'll take more questions. When I very first started out as a healer, like you, it's like, oh, all these images are opening up, all these energies are opening up, and I had this guide approach me to be my healing guide, and he was like a deceased doctor, actually. And so every time I would give a healing, he would come and he would step into my body and move my arms for me and use my body to give the healing. And I thought that was great. Wow, I'm just really doing this healing stuff. And later on, I learned that was actually an invasion of my space, and that there were higher vibration guides that I could work with who would not invade my space, and we could communicate without that being coming into my body. And so I think I'll just validate, we all have our own divine information that we can channel. It's also great to have a mentor as well, just to help you if you're gonna just to learn different ways of doing it. All right, I'm going to go to a break. We'll be back after the break. Hello, listeners. Welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. I'm Dr. Lesley Phillips. I'm your host. I'm here with Corey. We've been talking about animal totems this evening. Have a look. Let's see if we can find out what your one is. And in the meantime, we've got some email questions.
Yep. Here's one I'm going to field. Okay?
Yep.
And this one's from Dee Dee. Dee Dee asks, love life? Question mark. Yes, we do. Thank you, Dee Dee.
Oh, love life.
Love life.
Ah.
And here's one for, we need just, a little more direct question. Don't be shy. Anyway, here's one from Shayla in Dubai. And Shayla wants to know, what was my past life?
Okay. I love it when they ask what was my past life as if they've only had one.
That's true. And it actually wasn't life, it was lived.
Oh, like your past live. Okie dokie. All right, well, I might look at both of these very quickly because when you were talking from Dee Dee, the image that came up was a swan. And swans are purported to mate for life. And so looks like you're looking for your swan, your mate for life. Let me see what other information that animal has to convey to you about relationships. Swans can be fierce defenders. And defend their goslings, are they called, for swans? They'll attack you if you get in between them and their gosling. Let's see. Very royal animal as well. So anyway, I'm just seeing that's sort of an inspiration for you and relationships. And you know what? I might as well just quickly look up the swan in Ted Andrews' book, seeing as I've got it right here. Let's see. Got to find the birds. Here we go. Swisher, swift, swallow, swan. Awakening the true beauty and power of the self. Okay, so the swans actually to do with appreciating yourself, and the thing that the swan transforms is unworthiness to worthiness, low self-esteem to loving the self. Think about the tale of the ugly duckling. And of course, I find when people ask about relationships, that's very often the answer that I give, is that, you create your own reality, you will attract who you are, and if you want to attract a loving mate and a loving relationship, the key is to love yourself. And usually the main block to people attracting a loving relationship is low self-worth, low self-esteem. So it seems to me like this swan is the perfect answer for you, Dee Dee, about your love life. So use that swan as a symbol to help you transcend any feelings of unworthiness. So Shayla said, what is her past life? So I'm going to tune into Shayla and do a very quick past life reading for Shayla. And, of course, Shayla, you've had many incarnations. We're going to look at one that's about halfway down your timeline. And, let's see. Well, I'm seeing some symbols that look like a form of ancient symbolic writing, or a form of a decorative pattern. So I'm being shown some ancient vases with a decorative geometrical shape pattern on them. And it reminds me of, actually, you know what? I was going to say Central or South America, but it isn't. It's Indonesia. I'm being told it's Indonesia. I'm seeing you in a male body, and you are a potter. You're making clay pots, and you are, according to the local style of how they decorated them, you're decorating them, and you're doing it. It's not just painting them, but it looks like sort of marking them, because it was like little raised up, like squares within squares, and different raised up levels of them. So the surface of the pottery is not completely smooth. And it looks like you made domestic houseware, sort of things that would store oil or water, different things. And so let's say you're an artist, a potter. And what else can I see about this? Well, look, I'm seeing you were highly skilled. You were an excellent craftsman. And how does that relate to you right now and the cycle that you're in right now? Well, I'm seeing you're kind of in a cycle that has to do with appreciation of the aesthetic and beauty, and really opening on the level of your heart center and connecting with the things that you find beautiful and appreciating all of creation, really. But I'm seeing that the parallel is that that's how he connected with his work in that past life. Okay, Corey, we can do another.
We can we? Okay. So, this is from Anid in Dubai as well. We've got a lot of listeners in Dubai. It's very interesting. How my marriage will go in the future.
Okie dokie. Marriage and future. So, you know what we always say about future time questions is that you create your own reality. I prefer not to read your future for you because you create it, and I feel that disempowers you. It's possible for me to read the future and give you future time information, but all I'd be doing is tuning into the most likely future probable outcome, given the way that the circumstances are now. So we'll look at your marriage as it is now and the direction that it's heading now. And are we assuming this lady's married now, or she's wanting to get married in the future and meet somebody? We don't know, do we? All right. We don't even know if Anid's a woman. Okay, well, I'll just look at you and relationships and see what comes up.
It is a she.
Okay. That just says marriage future.
I think it's the future of her marriage.
Okay, so she's married. All right, let's look. Well, I'm seeing a dichotomy in your marriage. And you know what? There's pretty much a dichotomy in everything we go through in this world. It's sort of like there's a shadow side to it, and then there's a bright side to it. So I'm seeing on the one hand there are good things, aspects that you enjoy, that feel fun, loving, open, honest, enjoyable, fulfilling. And then I'm seeing that there are things that are the opposite to that. And it's like you would like it to always be wonderful. And of course, it isn't. And it kind of goes for anything in life. We are constantly learning and evolving. And what that means is that everything has an opposite. And we are always going through cycles of growth and change and learning, especially in our relationships. And so if I look at, let's take a look and see if we can give you some guidance on how to approach this. And I would just say it's about keeping your heart open and keeping the love alive. And when something happens, like an argument or a disagreement, or your partner does something that you don't like, is not holding on to it for too long, not sinking into a depression about it, but moving on and forgiving as quickly as you can. And that approach will make it more likely to have a long-term loving relationship. So we have a caller, so I'm going to take that call. We've got 5 minutes to take that call. Right. So, hello, caller. Who are we talking to?
This is Teresa.
Teresa. I've got 5 minutes to chat with you, Teresa. So what's your question?
Sure. I just wanted to ask about my health. I'm really struggling with an addiction that I'm finding hard to kick.
Okay, so we want to give you a hand and see what's going on with the addiction. And do you want to share what the addiction is, or do you prefer to keep that private?
Oh, no, it's smoking.
Smoking. Okay, let's take a look. All right, so just keep your eyes open. I'm going to tune into you. So I'm going to see if I can look at the sort of psychological aspect of it, because you're obviously aware of all the health aspects of it.
Yeah.
So it's got something to do with the intake of breath and being able to take it in or not take it in, not being able to take it in or stand it anymore. And also in taking in like poison, and it looks to me like if you go back in your childhood, that there was somebody dishing out some poison of some type. Was it your father? Yeah, that's what I was seeing. And so I'm seeing that your addiction is rooted in the relationship with your father, and that he gave you a constant supply of poison to take in, and you couldn't take it in. It sort of affected the breath, being able to take life in, because life was tainted with that poison. And so you've sort of carried that programming that you're always taking in poison, and you can't breathe life in as deeply as and cleanly as clearly as is possible. And so I'm seeing that dealing with the aftermath of your relationship with your father is the key to you overcoming your addiction to smoking. So it's like we always want to take something out at the roots, and the roots are back in your childhood with your relationship with your dad, and and the smoking is not even necessarily a coping mechanism to deal with it, or that might be part of it, but just more to do with the kind of programming that got set up for you at that time.
I just feel too clean. There's too much oxygen when I quit.
Yeah, because you're not used to clean air. You're used to having poison in your system. I'm going to have to leave you now because we have to introduce the next show.
Yeah.
You're welcome to follow up with me.
Call back again.
Yeah, or go to drlesleyphillips.com and send me an email if you want any more help with that.
Oh, that would be great.
Right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well.